Fam, what's up? Kyle Henderson, Bama football on YouTube. How's everybody doing? Could I get a roll tide inside the comment box? Alabama now 8-1 on the season. I appreciate you guys joining me. I got a special guest. I'm going to bring him on in. I know you guys like to rap with the one and the only Coach Shawn. What's up, Coach?
Roll Tide, guys. What's up with you, Kyle? How you feeling?
Roll Tide, man. Appreciate it. You know, I was thinking about on the pre-show, and I just cooked this up literally in about 5 minutes, this graphic. And it was really easy for me to come up with these topics because I think these are the topics that I wanted to hit on. I think that everybody wants to talk about kind of the keys of the game and what happened as Alabama rolls past and really Bullies LSU 42-28. It was a statement win, in my opinion. I think when you look to Alabama and kind of the gauntlet that this team has went through the last 4 games, it gives you a good idea of where this team is and how they're battle tested. So, Coach, wanted to bring you on and talk about these points, trade some thoughts as Alabama now 8-1 on the season, 6-0 in SEC play. Team's on fire. Team has a lot of momentum. 3 games left within the regular season, and then whatever happens. It's a 1-game season at this point. We all know that. Jalen Milroe, he bullied LSU. It was a great performance by the young man, and really a game that I thought for the first time he just took over. I mean, a lot of people were asking, when is he going to use his legs, this and that? When is he just going to take over? That was the game. Your take on Jalen Milroe and kind of how he used his legs. Alabama had 6 rushing touchdowns. What was your kind of assessment of the young man last night against the Tigers?
Man, I'll tell you this. I was one of the ones that was worried. I was worried going into this game based off how he had played the last 2 games as a whole on offense. I loved how they used him. I think all of us was waiting on that style of use from Jalen. Legs, RPOs, option game, those type of things. Not necessarily trying to turn him into Peyton Manning, for a full game, but let the man be an athlete at times of need. We knew LSU played a lot of man coverage. We knew a lot of these plays would be open. The secondary, same as Jayden Daniels caught us. We knew the DBs would have their back turned. So this was the perfect game to allow the man to be an athlete. Let him use his legs on 3rd and long. And I was worried about that coming into the game. But the way they use Jalen Milroe, if we continue to use him in spurts like that, I do believe this team can go super far. I was very, very happy with how we used Jalen.
When we look to, I'll bring up the stats right here. Here's the PDF as we kind of bring it up. Kind of look at the box score real quick. When we're here with Coach Shawn, my name's Kyle Henderson, both of Bama football on YouTube. You see that Alabama up in this top right category. Jalen Milroe rushes for 20 yards for a net of 155 yards with 4 touchdowns. Jace McClellan also had 14 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. Roydell Williams with 6 hard runs for 56 yards. I mean, it looked like Roydell Williams was used more than he really was last night, and I think he came in during a good time. We're here with Coach Shawn. This team rushes for 6 touchdowns last night and 500 yards. And kind of when we look to the topics and the key points of this game, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth. I think a lot of it, and I don't know, I think this was tweeted out a couple times. I saw in the pregame, Isaiah Bond was kind of up in kind of wanting to, kind of get that smoke going. Hey, and if you've called in, I'm going to be with Coach Shawn for about maybe 30, 40 minutes while we go over these topics, and then I'm going to take a call. So don't wait on the call-in line. We will get to you after we've kind of gone through these points. But that mentality that this team has, what's your take on kind of that mentality and that mindset? It was almost kind of Tony Brownish.
Yeah, definitely. I was waiting on that. This is a far cry away from getting anxiety going on the road to Tennessee. I loved it, man. Not cockiness, but letting them know you are in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Yeah. You're not at home. You're not at home. We're not here to make you comfortable. So I love the fact that Isaiah stood his ground. I enjoyed it. I loved it, man. I love the fact these guys' confidence level is starting to go through the roof now. And here's the key, Kyle. It's happening at the right time of year.
Yes.
November. November is the games that you remember.
I like that. November as the games you remember, because, everybody is now zoomed in. All those times where we're looking at the AP pointless poll, I mean, that it was kind of a good indicator. But I mean, there was also times where they had Notre Dame up in the top
It's a
4,
fact.
and they had other teams up there, and we all knew what was going to happen. The rankings at different parts of the season don't mean the same thing that they mean in November, and they don't mean the same thing that they mean at the end of the Thanksgiving break. So this team, 1,000,000% is a completely different team, identity-wise, talent-wise, than they were in week 2 when they lost first game of the season. Everybody knows that. 500 yards of offense. There was a lot to kind of go over. The 2 points that I thought were interesting is they really led, and I want to talk about Tommy Rees as well, but they were like, look, go out and play your game. He took over, and the 2 little dump-off passes to Jace and Jam, those weren't by design. Those are being a playmaker and being able to see, look, this guy's there. He floats the ball to them. What was your take on kind of some of the playmaking and the overall offense? Because 500 yards of offense against another electric offense, this team clearly proved last night that they can win a shootout type game.
What's crazy is that wheel route that he threw to Jam, that wheel route was open several times that night. Jalen elected to use his feet and take off, and that's fine because we got first downs on most of the times he took off. But that just shows you the maturity of this young man. You go back 5 weeks from now, I'm not sure Jalen sees that. So for the fact that this man saw that wheel route coming out of the backfield and elected to hit him with a perfect touch pass, it shows you the maturity of this team. It shows you which direction this team's offense is going. I told the guys last night, we had a history of really getting on Caden Proctor, and rightfully so. If we're going to get on him, let's give him his love. That cat played great last night. The offensive line as a whole played last night, but for that freshman to come out and go against a great player in Perkins like that and dominate him was great to see. But as far as Jalen, man, hitting those wheel routes out of the backfield, really seeing the field on both sides of the hashes, that's what we've been waiting on, and it's happening at the perfect time.
Tommy Rees, do you feel that, he's continued to make progression? I was a little bit harsh on him coming into this week. I wanted to see what was going to transpire in a game like this, in a game that everybody was zoomed in on. What was your take on the overall play calling schematics from Tommy Rees up in the box last night?
I would give Tommy an A for last night. Outside of that first drive, I really enjoy what I've seen from Tommy Rees. And for me, I'm a little different. We may score on some drives, but I still might not like the play calling because I see down the road, this team, this play won't work for this team. That's just how I look at it. I'm a pessimist by nature. The truth is in the details. But for me, to me, this is the best game Tommy has called for the team we were playing. The type of defense that LSU runs, and with the injuries that these guys had, the defensive front that these guys had, the missing pieces that these guys had, this is the offense that you need to run against LSU. So for this game, I have to give, we've been on Tommy. I was right there with you, likewise. But for this game, I have to give him an A. I have to give him an A this time because he called the correct play. For me, it's down in distance. I want to know what you call on 3rd and long. I'm not concerned what you call on 3rd and short because everybody knows when you play this game, on 3rd and short, you can call practically anything. 3rd and long is the money down. We used to call that the money down. I want to know what you call on 3rd and 7 or more. So for him to come out, and I think we went, I'm not sure what the stat is, but we had a very high efficiency on 3rd down. So I'm happy with that. If you can get me off the field on defense on 3rd down and keep me on it on offense, you have a successful night.
Alabama was actually 11 of 14, coach, on 3rd downs.
Yeah.
And Coach Saban hit on that. And these are the points that Coach Saban hit on. He hit on the fact that the offensive line played better, just as Ed says inside the comment box. And he hit on the fact that the team was 11 and 14 on 3rd down conversions, which clearly moves the chains. And I thought that Alabama, look, Coach Saban said before the game that this was going to be a heavyweight fight and that LSU was going to get theirs and that Alabama was going to get theirs, but it was going to be the team that won that was going to be the team that was going to be able to sustain for 4 quarters of play. This is the first time that we saw Alabama put together 4 quarters of play, honestly, and they went back and forth. And I love the resiliency of this team. They were hit over the top by Nabers. This was a crazy stat, and I pointed this out on my post-game wrap. Did you guys know, Coach, this is a crazy stat. Nabers last night, does anybody know, How many times he was targeted? This is trivia. If you watched my show last night, my post game show.
Maybe 11, maybe. I don't know.
Keep going. Keep going. Anybody know?
More? Oh my God.
17 times he was targeted. I mean, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
If you don't follow kind of like those type of details with college football, that's an insane amount of targets. Usually like a lot would be like 11. That would be like, maybe 11 here and 8 here, something like that. But 17, Gelato almost had it right. He said 15. But yeah, the 17 is crazy. Like Brian Thomas had 4. There was a couple other guys that were spot shotter. Look, the overall play of Jayden Daniels, we're going to get to him in a second because that guy is absolute baller. Okay, so Coach gives Tommy Rees an A. I will give an A as well. I thought he played. I thought the thing, and I said this going into this game, you don't control a quarterback like Jalen Milroe. You unleash him 1,000,000%. And you design. They had one quarterback design run. That's what Coach Saban said. Everything else is like just progression's not there. Do what you got to do, because when Jalen Milroe is putting his head down and he's running, it's bully ball. I mean, the guy was completely fine after running for 160 yards. I mean, the guy's built like a tank, 230 yards. Okay, Coach, check this out. I was thinking about this. The sophomores on this team, okay? Even I'm going to count the redshirt sophomores as well. Not all of them because there's a ton. But you guys in the comment box, help me out as well. And let's start thinking about sophomores on this team. Let's start on the offensive side, okay? Sophomores on this team. Jalen Milroe is a redshirt sophomore. Jaden Roberts is a redshirt sophomore. You have Tyler Booker, who's a sophomore. Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice. Those guys are sophomores is right? And then you have a couple other guys. What's Mari Nyblack? Can someone look that up real quick? Is he a sophomore?
I think he's a sophomore as well.
Right?
I think he's a sophomore.
Sophomore as well. Oh, Emmanuel Henderson. He's also a sophomore. Yeah. So you kind of look to the sophomores on that group. And look, those are the guys like Isaiah Bond. They kind of went away from Jermaine Burton. There was a couple times that Jalen Milroe just straight up wasn't accurate on some of those balls, especially the deep ball. The deep ball just wasn't there last night for him. And that's fine. But the passes that he was able to connect with, Kobe Prentice has been a key target. And so Isaiah Bond is that guy. Right. So I was just thinking about the sophomores on the offensive side. I mean, what do you think about that when you kind of look to the future? And I'm sure you saw after the game, Coach Saban and Aaron Anderson saw each other, and Coach Saban's like, he's like, I'm just saying, you be playing more here.
Yeah, I saw that. You be playing more. I saw that. That was so, boy, that hit that. And it had to hit him. It had to hit him right square dead in the face.
Yeah.
So for me, I enjoyed though, Kyle. For me, man, I was just really excited to see them get Kendrick Law involved, get Kobe involved. Yeah. These guys are young and they are hungry athletes, man. Kendrick Law, to me, man, we have got to find a way to get that kid the ball. Good night.
Yeah.
That kid, man. And, he runs with no fear. He's got great size on him, sort of a Debo Samuel type kid.
Yes, that's what I've been saying. You see it too, right, Coach?
Yes.
1,000,000%. And I've been saying that too. Like when you design like that play early in the first quarter when he got the ball, like that is how you run. That's why I love him on kickoff returns. It feels like he's going to break one, honestly. But to your point, get him the football any way you can.
Any way you can. Any of the sophomore kids that are on this team, that recruiting class that had Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, Isaiah, these kids had even the guy that's on defense, Jake Pope. That class is going to really start to take flight, I think, next year. They're taking flight this year, but I think it'll be their team completely next year. I'm excited about those kids, man. I'm excited as long as we get them in the game and use them. Jermaine Burton, I love Jermaine Burton as well. I can't forget about him because he's clutch in big times. I think the elder statesman, I remember when this kid was a freshman. Now he should be one of the older receivers. Brooks, I think he's the elder statesman in that room now. I think he had a little injury last night. I'm not sure if he was on special teams or what, but for the sophomores that we got on this team that would definitely be back, the true sophomores that would definitely be back next year, man, you got to look up. You got to look up. It makes me think, because I can remember Jayden Daniels last year, and to see his progression over last year to this year, and to see where this kid at this year, it makes me really, really, really hopeful for our offense next year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about Jayden Daniels and his overall play. I'll bring up the stats so you guys can look at the stats of Jayden Daniels. And we knew that with Jayden Daniels coming into this game that he was going to be a handful for anybody, even this defense, right? I didn't anticipate him being – I mean, I know last year he did whatever he wanted against Alabama, and the similar thing. I mean, the guy was fantastic. So let's start with him passing 15 to 24, 219 yards with 2 touchdowns, hit Alabama over the top early in the game. And then running wise, I mean, the guy is just as dynamic as it gets for a dual threat quarterback. 11 carries for a net total of 163 yards with 1 touchdown, longest of 40 yards, and really a catalyst to why LSU was able to score that late touchdown right before halftime, right? I mean, the guy is just able to like kind of dazzle downfield, sets him up in a good position, and LSU scores. Okay, so 2 things, Coach. Number 1, what is your take on kind of the play of Jayden Daniels and how Alabama was able to deal with him the best that they could? I know a lot of people were kind of having some issues with, him being a spy, not Alabama not spying him effectively in that regard. What was your take on that? And then I want to ask you about the hit from Dallas Turner to Jayden Daniels.
For me, starting with the first question, Jayden Daniels, last week on our show, some of the fans beat me up when I told them Jackson Dart doesn't scare me like Jayden Daniels. And this is why. I watch film on these guys. Jackson Dart is an awesome quarterback, right? But Jackson Dart doesn't pose the threat running all over the field in space that this guy does. I knew with the type of defense we play a lot of man, we play a lot of back end, a lot of matchup zone. This guy was going to have opportunities to hurt us. That's what my fear was. And you saw why. You saw why. The play this kid made right before the half, no other quarterback we play right now, I don't think would have made that on us. I told Coach Mook and Coach Jay last night that not only is this kid a great athlete, not only is he accurate enough to make pass plays on 3rd and long and make us pay, he knows the right receiver to go to. His reads are clear and precise. This kid reads defense. He knows he obviously is a film junkie, obviously. So I saw all this coming into this game, and I saw the potential for this kid to have a big game. Now, if he had a big game, that made me think we might be on the other end of this thing. But I also said if we come out and be efficient on 3rd down, that I think we can beat anybody in the country. So for me, Jayden Daniels did what Jayden Daniels does. This kid has played like that all year long, and it didn't stop last night. Last night, our offense was the catalyst, and we won that game basically because of the points our offense put up. As far as Dallas, I'm a little different. I mean, Dallas you can't really ask him to pull up at that point in time. So I'm not mad at the hit. I don't think it was targeting, but what I would like to see Dallas do is once you make contact like that and you know the kid is throwing the ball, sort of let go. Don't drive him into the ground because that'll get you a penalty every time. I think if he had just hit the guy, nice little square hit and let him go, I don't think it would have even been a question. But when he drove him into the ground, that is what garners the referee's attention, especially since you've done that before in the Texas game last year, the Quinn. So I think that is the only part that I would take caution with, but the hit itself was not targeting.
All right, let's skip. So I was going to skip, I guess. We're going to talk about the defense being battle tested in just a second. But how big was it, that interception? I thought that was one of the turning points of this game when Dallas Turner is able to get his paw on the ball, pops up in the air, and Terry Arnold comes down with the interception, gets the turnover belt. I mean, just kind of talk about the impact of that play late in the game.
Man, that play was key because LSU was driving. That really broke their momentum. That play was really like that extra brick to break the bridge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When we got that turnover, we needed it. We needed it, man, because this guy was hot. He was moving the ball. I was wondering, when will the D-line get their hands up? Because while Jayden Daniels is an accurate quarterback, he tends to throw the ball excessively low for his height. He finds lanes, true enough, but he doesn't have a high arcing throwing motion. So I was wondering, when would these guys get their hands up? They can get some of these balls, and I swear, right when I thought that, that's when the guy tipped the pass. I don't know if it was a Bogby or somebody tipped the pass, and that made Terrion have an opportunity to go up and intercept that thing. So
I think it was Dallas Turner, Coach.
Dallas Turner. Okay.
Yeah.
That was key. That was key at that time. A turnover at that point in the game really, really, really changed momentum. And that's something that we needed because it started to become a shootout. And I
Mhm.
wasn't comfortable. I knew we were playing well on offense, but that's not our game. That's not our
Mhm.
game to get in a shootout with anyone. I was sort of uncomfortable with the back and forth because I knew at some point we were going to stall. So for that turnover to happen at that point in time, couldn't have been bigger. It was absolutely huge.
Mhm. I just this comment inside the comment box is hilarious. The dynasty is dead. The entire SEC West is poverty. If it wasn't for the SEC East, the SEC wouldn't even make the playoffs. I mean,
SEC East.
there's been, and Rees Davis hit on this earlier. And what's up, P or B Puck 33? I appreciate you joining us. Rees Davis hit on this. Everybody wants to pretend that the dynasty is dead and that things are done here in Alabama. This has been an incredible coaching job by Nick Saban this year. I think he has really relished this year more than a lot of the other years because of the fact that he's had to coach a sophomore team, coach a team that didn't have an identity. He's had to coach, and coaches built to coach and be a mentor. And the transformation with this team, not only at the quarterback position, I know that's a lot of the glorified position in college football, but I mean, overall, it's been incredible to see what he's been able to do with this team from week
Exactly.
one to now, right?
Exactly.
And at the perfect time, as you said, Coach, like people starting to now really tune in to college football and to see where these teams are at. I mean, it's been incredible to see. Jarvis inside the comment box is saying this has been one of Coach Saban's best jobs ever. Before we talk about this battle-tested defense, what do you think about that, Coach?
Man, I think Jarvis has hit. I think Jarvis hit the nail right on top of the head. Considering, I want all the fans to think about where we started at. Really go back to those Middle Tennessee and USF games.
Mhm.
Look at the progression of this offense. Look at the progression of this defense. Look at just the team as a whole. This team as a whole really needed to be coached. From left tackle on, really need to be coached. The right guard has been a revolving door at times. The play calling, everything started out very, very shaky.
Mhm.
But to see us come into this stretch of games,
Mhm.
Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, Texas A&M,
Mhm.
not in that order, of course, but to see us go through the stretch, I said earlier, this stretch of games would signify who we were as a team.
Mhm.
So for Alabama to have the progression we've had, this is Coach Saban's best coaching job. I agree 1,000%. And for when you look at all the people talking about the SEC East and West, I would say to that, if I could debate, what SEC East is he talking about? Because Missouri has 2 losses now.
Mhm.
Kentucky, we know what that is.
Mhm.
Tennessee, we've defeated them. You look
Mhm.
at the SEC West, LSU is still a player. I mean, LSU could beat anybody on that side on any given day.
Don't forget about Ole Miss.
Oh, exactly. And I
Man.
think they're going to push UGA next week.
Look,
So
look at the top of this banner. What does it say? Bama now 8-1, 6-0 in SEC play. And guess what? They have not clinched the SEC West.
exactly. Exactly. Thank you. That what you just said really tells it all. That
Yeah,
tells it all.
yeah.
Facts.
All right. Okay. So I asked Jalen Milroe last night. I was like, "Do you think you guys are battle tested? You guys went through Texas, and we talked about this, and we called it the gauntlet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M. Then you had Arkansas. Like that Arkansas team, despite their record, despite what's going on, that was going to be difficult. We knew
Yes.
that. And then you have Tennessee, much improved. That quarterback was a baller. Their wide receivers were really good. And then this LSU team with their electric offense, this was a gauntlet. The
Yes.
defense, and I said this on a lot of my past shows this week. This wasn't the first good offense that they were going to face. The first elite offense. Look at the offensive minds. Steve Sarkisian and all of those weapons from Texas. By the way, Texas should have lost yesterday. K-State had their opportunities. They went against Ole Miss in the great mind of Lane Kiffin. And that Ole Miss, I mean, they've only lost one game. And the wide receivers they had and the quarterback and the whole schematics. You also went against Texas A&M and all of their wide receivers. Those, I don't care what's happening at Texas A&M right now. They've lost 9 in a row on the road, which is crazy. Jimbo's definitely on the hot seat. But those wide receivers, Musa Muhammad, Anaya Smith, Evan Stewart, I mean, those guys are absolutely phenomenal. And then you go against this team right here. with Malik Nabers, Brian Thomas, and the quarterback. This defense, coach, let's talk about how they're battle tested. And there's that old adage that something like defense wins something.
That's a fact. I'll tell you this, and this segues right into the question that you're asking. The fans, I wouldn't even allow myself to even get that far ahead right now, because to any UGA fan that really, really knows football, think about you guys' team from 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago when Stetson had his first starting season. Look at our team and look at that now. You guys won with great defense. Not saying this defense is on that level of Georgia, but great defense and steady play from the quarterback got you a championship. Look no further than this Alabama team. But as far as the defense as a whole, man, listen, I've been high on this defense from day one. The defense to me is getting better and better and better. Now, I know last night we gave up some points, but that was to the number one total offense in the country, guys.
Yeah.
That offense has been doing that all season. Florida State has a great defense, and they did it to them, right? So don't get depicted because of that. These guys are absolutely where they need to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think Kevin Steele and T-Rob is doing an outstanding job in pattern matching, in play calling, on when to blitz, when not to blitz, when to play man, when to play zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all in all, I'll give our defense an A. It could have been a lot worse. With the defense that we have, that LSU team would have scored on practically anybody else at will. They were just that good on offense. I mean, when you look at the 2019 LSU team with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, they are averaging more points than those guys and have better stats than those guys, and very comparable. So for our defense to come out and do a job on that offense like that, we're right where we need to be. I think we are battle tested to go on the road to Texas A&M. You know, playing on the road is very tough in this conference. Kirby Smart told the truth about that. Playing this conference is tough, you know, in general. But going on the road in the SEC is very, very tough, guys. So to go to College Station and get a win in that fashion, in that type of game, is huge. Yes, I think they're battle tested. To have these games back to back to back like this was our stretch to prove what type of team we were. And I think we passed with flying colors.
Adam, with the super chat, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. It says, great win. Let's see, get that up on the board. Great win last night, Kyle. Milroe was outstanding. The O-line was good, and the defense did enough to win. Honestly, though, Georgia worries me. Unlike LSU, their defense is great. The offense is efficient. What do you think? Look, this Georgia Bulldog team should scare anybody in college football. I mean, what they've been able to do over the last several years is a credit to Kirby, the coaching staff, what they've been able to do in terms of, managing their organization, NIL, not so much the transfer portal, because we haven't seen Georgia really dip into there. There's, of course, transfers everywhere, but look, this team is great. And that was a good win over Missouri. And by the way, Missouri's good. That was a really good win. That was Georgia's first really good win of the season. If I'm the playoff committee, I am putting Georgia back at the number one spot on Tuesday night, 1,000,000%. I needed to see one really quality win for Georgia. That was it. I know Missouri kind of sounds kind of weird. They've done a good job. That was their first win. I watched Ohio State yesterday. Rutgers was up on them 9-7 at the halftime break. Rutgers is going in to make it another score on top of Ohio State. A tip ball flies up and the guy returns it for a touchdown, and then the entire momentum changes. Georgia right now is the number one team in college football. They haven't lost since whenever. I think they're a quality team, and I think they're balanced in the fact that Carson Beck is the quarterback that he's coming along. We talked about the transformation of Jalen Milroe. Carson Beck is playing great. I don't really know the timeline on the tight end, Brock Bowers. I hope he comes back for that SEC champ. I hope he comes back just for him. And the reason I say that is because you want to be able to play a team at their best. And look, these athletes, they're within that 24 to 18-year-old range. And like you saw the emotion and the passion from Caleb Williams last night after losing on the road and kind of everything that's happened with, his career at USC and them losing to Washington last night. Like these guys want to be able to play. And you don't want, you want to face a team at their best. Georgia is a fantastic team. They still have Ole Miss, which is going to be very challenging. That's coming up next. Good thing that it's in Athens, Georgia. And then they go on the road to play Tennessee, which should be a very difficult environment. what's your kind of take right now? Give me something on Georgia and kind of where they're at. Do you feel that they should be number one?
I do. I feel like Georgia should be number one because if you're going to penalize Georgia for their schedule, then you damn well better penalize Michigan
Mm-hmm.
because Michigan's schedule is worse than Georgia's, way worse. Um, Georgia, to me, I mean, by default, you have to keep these guys at number one. Nobody's beat these guys. They were. If we were Bama fans and we were number one, we were coming off a championship, we'd be upset if they dropped us, just on the sheer fact of whatever reason they dropped them for. I do give Ohio State respect because Ohio State has played a tough
Yeah.
schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But UGA, nobody's beaten these guys so far. I think we match up very well with them this year, probably more than any other time. I would tell any UGA fan, we're talking about, debates. I don't think you've played a defense yet, nowhere near, not even close to what you'll see with the University of Alabama if that happens. I don't think you have the same type of offense you had with Stetson with this guy, even though he's playing better.
Mm-hmm.
The young quarterback you guys have is playing better. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know what Brock Bowers is. True. I think Alabama matches up excessively well with you.
Yeah,
better than we did with LSU. You know what I mean? So you can turn a blind eye to Alabama and things of that nature. But if you know football, you know the Alabama team this year is set up to beat one team, and that team resides in Athens, Georgia.
Here with Coach Shawn of Bama football. My name's Kyle Henderson. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I will take calls after Coach Shawn and I have chopped it up, so you don't have to wait on the call line. I'll open the call line up. Once we're going kind of cruising through these topics, we appreciate Coach Shawn's time this beautiful Sunday, November 5th. I went outside. I always like to chop it up with my parents, kind of on a walk around and just kind of, because I can't, you know how it is, Coach. Like when you're watching the game and like I can't, my family. I mean, I just like Saturdays are a work day for me.
Yeah,
you want to hang out with me? Come and hang out with me on like a Thursday. That's like I got one day during the season. It's all good. But Thursdays are my days. Look, Superman even has an off night. And Will Riker last night missed 2 field goals. It was the first time that he's missed a field goal since the Tennessee game of last year. He also missed a field goal against LSU. Everyone remembers that. He was off. It seems like even kind of the angles of the kicks, were strange. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're just not feeling it. I don't think it's anything to be worried about going forward. But, what was your take? I mean, it was weird to see not 1 being missed, but 2.
It seems to me like he was just pulling a little bit, I'm not sure what it is. You never know with kickers, Kyle. Yeah. You just never know, man. I seen on the first kick, he pulled it a little bit. Yeah. There was very difficult kicks, and it's you just never know. I'm not worried about Will at all. I'm not. It happens. Like you said, Superman has an off night sometimes, especially kicking the football. I think those were his first 2 he missed all season, right?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about Will at all. It happens. You have yet to see a kicker in the history of kicking that's 40 for 40 or 50 for 50 all year long. So let's not worry about Will. Let's get it corrected. True enough. And we'll move forward. I think Will will be just fine. You just never know with kickers, man. Wind. We talked about it last night. They say the wind wasn't blowing, the holder. It's so many things that go into a successful kick. And a big game like that, you just never know if he compensated for one side and shanked it a little bit. You just never know, but I'm not worried about Will at all.
I wanted to bring up, this as we start to kind of talk about playoffs and each Tuesday night for the rest of the season until the regular season is concluded, you have the playoff rankings. So do you feel that this was a statement win for Alabama? And before you answer that, Coach, I mean, I do 1,000,000%. And I think kind of it was not only a statement win, but I think you look at Alabama's overall schedule of strength. It's up there in the top 10. And this gauntlet has shown that this team can win on the road. They can win in challenging environments. They can play against a really good defense. They can play against a really good offense. They're a complete team. So when you kind of look at the landscape, let me read you guys through this. And I think that, you look to all the teams ahead of Alabama, they all won yesterday, right? Ohio State was ranked number 1. They beat Rutgers. Michigan up at the top left, they beat Purdue. Florida State, they beat Pitt. Georgia beat Missouri. Washington's able to beat USC on the road. Oregon beat Cal. Texas beat Kansas State in overtime. And Oklahoma, the team who was on the back end, they lost yesterday to Oklahoma State. So, was this a statement win for Alabama, or does Alabama have statement wins throughout kind of their resume?
I think the LSU game was definitely a statement win because, practically 90% of people out there picked us to lose this game. This offense has pretty much destroyed everybody, just about everybody they played. When I look at the landscape, the grand landscape of what could possibly happen as far as the rankings go, it's that old adage question. Is it the most deserving team or is it the best team? If you want to say Oregon deserves to be there, I'm not mad at you. They do. Oregon has looked impressive. They may deserve to be in front of us. That's a team I wouldn't want to play right now. But is Texas a better team than us today? Sure, they were better in week 2, barely. You know what I mean? But with Texas, especially with Quinn Ewers being out, would Texas defeat us today? I don't think so at all. I don't think Texas would beat us today. And a perfect example is look no further, guys, than the year. I forget what year it was. Maybe it was 2018 when Kyler Murray was still at Oklahoma. Texas beat those guys in the regular season, and they were ranked ahead of them, of course. Throughout the season, Texas had a bunch of close wins. Oklahoma was destroying people. They kept Texas in front of Oklahoma on the sheer fact of they beat them, right, head to head. Well, they played again the Big 12 championship, and Oklahoma whipped them, bro. So teams get better, teams get worse, teams have injuries. A lot of things change throughout the year. So I would like to see us jump Texas because they've been escaping by the hairs of their chin quite a while. Now, Oregon, I think Oregon is one of the better teams in the country. I think Oregon is better than some of those teams with a 0, with an O on their undefeated record. Sure, they lost to Washington on a humbug. I think that Coach Dan Lanning started feeling himself a little bit and made a lot of weird calls in that game. But I don't think Texas is playing better than us right now. I do not. I think we play Texas Saturday. I think we would defeat them. So I would like to see us at least jump them. But again, is it the most deserving team, which would be Bama? Is it the best team? Then they'll value the head-to-head because they beat us. Which one is it?
Yeah, I think when you look to future schedules, you see Michigan, they still have to play Penn State this coming weekend, and then Ohio State on the back end. So Ohio State has Michigan State, Minnesota, and Michigan. So one of those two teams are going to lose, and they're both on the same side of the Big Ten, right? So one of those teams is going to lose. Then you look to Florida State from the ACC. They also beat LSU in a very similar score to what Alabama beat LSU by. So I think Florida State fans right now this morning are like, okay, we're around the, if it comes down to Alabama, we want that resume to where we beat LSU and Alabama beat LSU, like put those down, right, on paper. They have Miami, they have Northern Alabama, and they have a game in the Swamp against Billy Napier in Florida. You have Georgia, who takes on a one-loss Ole Miss team. Look, Lane Kiffin, he is looking for a statement win to get the Alabama job, right? Like everybody knows that he wants to coach at Alabama 1,000,000%. Talks about it every single day. He needs a marquee victory. What would be better than beating, a former coach at Alabama, somebody who's won national titles, Kirby Smart, right? Like this game is going to mean so much to Lane. And that's going to be an interesting matchup right there. Then they have Tennessee, and then they have Georgia Tech. Bama will travel to Lexington, Kentucky, then take on Chattanooga, and then go to Auburn. Look, that game against Auburn, who knows? That you can't.
Exactly.
The records. Hugh Freeze has beat Coach Saban twice.
That's facts.
Okay. The Auburn, the Iron Bowl is crazy. It's wild. You just don't know. Tight ends will throw touchdown passes. It's a really, really strange, environment. Everybody knows that. Washington, big win last night, beating USC. That was a marquee win for the Huskies. They got Utah. That game's going to be challenging. We know that. Oregon State, they punch above their belt. Washington State, that's a rivalry game. And then they will play Oregon again, should they win those games in the Pac-12 championship. Oregon takes on USC. That's going to be a great. Caleb Williams, if he wants, I mean, dude, you still have a shot right here. Then you take on Arizona State, and then Oregon State, and then the Pac. So I would assume one of those teams, they're going to lose. You have Texas, you have TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. I think Texas could lose one of those games 100%.
Yeah.
And kind of Oklahoma there, if they win, still if they win out that schedule, they should be in line to play Texas again. So when you look to the kind of playoff football landscape, there's a lot to be played. And the reason I only listed these games is I kind of think this is where we're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is your playoff bracket. Seriously. Like we don't have Penn State in there, but they're out. But I mean, this is it. Right?
None of these teams can afford to lose, even if you have a 0 on your record as far as the losses. No. None of these teams can afford to lose a game because of the teams that's behind them and the team that's in front of them. So you're right. I think you hit the nail right on the head as well. You're in the playoffs right now, every game. And don't sleep on Kentucky going to Kentucky at night.
Oh,
don't sleep on that. Oh, no. Kentucky has a very live atmosphere at night. They just thumped Mississippi State real good. So let's not sleep on Kentucky either, because going on the road, they're physical.
Is that game at
I hope it's not a night game.
No, it's 11. It's 11
a.m.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it was a breakfast time for some people. I wake up too early. It's too crazy. Don't hang out with me. I'm up too early. Okay, we talked about the CF college football rankings. Let's look at before we get to the call-in show, and after I get Coach and I wrap up, I will take a call, so we'll kind of segue into the call-in show. But Coach, let's look at these Pro Football Focus grades real quick. A lot of people like to look at the grades, and look, Pro Football Focus, if you followed the show before, it's made up of former coaches at the college level, NFL level. They grade the players. Their scale, 100% would be like in extraordinary. 90% is like phenomenal. 80% is like, that's a great game. And then the 70 is like, that's good as well. 60s and 50s are kind of, needs improvement. So with that said, let's look at the offense first. Bring that to full screen. So let me walk you through this real quick if you're new to it. So I'm going to make this full screen. Actually, I think you guys can see it. Okay, so let's start with Caden Proctor up to the top left. The star indicates that he was a player that started. The position is left tackle, and total is snaps. So that's how many snaps the player had. I cut it off around 20 at the bottom. You can see Roy Del Williams. There's a couple players who played, 16 to 4 plays or whatever on offense, but it doesn't really add up grading wise. So Caden Proctor, left tackle, 70 snaps, and his offensive grade was 71.0. Against Tennessee, his grade was 77.0. So he is continuing to trend in an upward trajectory. Now, I know his grade wasn't as high as his last grade, but his grades before in week 1, week 2, week 3 were like 30, 50, 40. So
exactly,
these grades are amazing for him. Tyler Booker, 64.9. You watch Booker and kind of like a rewatch and see why they graded him or, where that grade was. But Coach Saban was pleased with the offensive line. Jayden Roberts has been fantastic as of late, playing at right guard. And remember, he's a redshirt sophomore out of the Texas area, 84.8. That is an impressive grade for that young man. J.C. Latham, 64.5. Jalen Milroe, 84.5. Great game for Milroe. Seth, 59.8. His grades haven't been overly high this entire year. What are your kind of assessments when you kind of just look at these grades from a snapshot, Coach?
I don't get too down on as far as the Booker and Latham, because remember, when you're especially Tyler Booker, he's helping a lot. They have what we call combo blocks where he has to help Caden. He has to help Seth. So when you're playing the guard positions, it's very difficult to grade out high. It's very, very difficult because you're constantly helping other linemen in combo blocking, especially on pass protection. J.C. Latham, a lot of times they were moving Perkins around. He's going to always go against the better pass rusher. They do move the better pass rusher to Caden's side to take advantage of the freshmen. But a lot of times, a lot of these pass rushers get used to being on one side and they're not as effective when they go to the other side unless they're an outstanding young man. So I wouldn't read too much into the 64s as far as Latham and Booker, especially Booker being on the inside, being an interior lineman. For me, I'm just ecstatic to see that 71% in the green up there for Caden. That means, like I said, that kid, I think I seen one of the guys in the comment last night say, I hadn't heard Caden Proctor's name all night. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because when you hear his name too much, that means he's not playing well when you play offensive line. So for Caden to come in as a young freshman, a true freshman, not a red shirt, hadn't been in the program, sure, he's a big kid, but his body college right when he first stepped on campus. This kid, 18 years old and playing left tackle in the SEC, that is outstanding. So for this kid to have a progression and to do better and to grade out that high, man, I'm ecstatic to see that.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up right now his overall grades. Pro Football Focus is awesome. They have so many cool analytics to deal with. And look, the grades are subject to debate. Like the coaches at the University of Alabama have their own grading scale.
Yeah.
So they go off that. I mean, these are just grades, they're numbers. I mean, this isn't like the official grades that they have, but this does show you kind of a framework of where Caden Proctor, all these players have been. So what you're looking at right now is Caden Proctor's overall grades from the beginning to the end. Coach, this is good. I mean, look, first game against Middle, okay, that's against Middle. It's a different caliber. Texas completely struggled. South Florida struggled. Ole Miss wasn't the best. Mississippi State didn't really see it. Texas A&M struggled on the road. Arkansas didn't have it. You look to these last 3 weeks because you did have an open week, 75.9 and then 71 for Caden Proctor. This is great stuff.
I want the fans to look at these last 2 weeks. Matter of fact, look at the last 3 weeks. Arkansas, when that young man came out who I think he might have had 2 sacks all season and had 3 against us. Look at the last 2 weeks against great competition, against Tennessee, against LSU. You have to give Caden his props. I watched his technique. Caden is not lunging anymore, which is to be expected for a young offensive lineman. What I mean by lunging is they teach the offensive lineman to have a strong pass set, a strong punch. Your back straight, strong punch. You don't lunge. When you lunge, you get off balance. They can get by you. They can use swim moves, spin moves. When you're that big and you get off balance, it's over with, right? So for this kid to have a strong pass set, a strong kick slide in the pass game and pass protection, and run protection has never really been his problem. So I'm very proud of that kid. We got to give him as much love as we did hate.
What I'm going to bring up right now, and a lot of people have been asking about this. So, and I think we've even had some super chats. What I'm going to show you guys next is the grades and the snaps overall on Ja'Cory Brooks. Now, Ja'Cory Brooks, veteran wide receiver at the University of Alabama. Here are his snap counts this season, and this is kind of his overall grade. So I think it's kind of a combination of maybe there's some sort of injury that we don't know about, but more than likely it's just that he got passed up by some of these other wide receivers. Think about it. We haven't heard a lot about Malik Benson. That was a guy who was supposed to come in here and kind of be the guy of the transfer portal. These sophomores are playing at a very high level. Jermaine Burton became the guy. So you look to Ja'Cory Brooks, and what we're looking at right now is his total stats and his snap count. I mean, the last time that we saw him was against Arkansas. Played in only 1 snap against Texas A&M, 22 against Mississippi State. You guys can see the stats on the screen. So I think it's kind of just something to where, other guys have surpassed him. That happens, even to guys who have contributed in the past. And I think that Burton being number 1 and Isaiah Bond being number 2 and Kendrick Law, now Kobe Prentice doing their thing, I think he's just gotten passed up. Right, Coach?
I think so. And I was wondering about Jermaine, because when he would play, it's almost like I'm not sure if he was hurt. I'm not sure if he was just beat up, injured, whatever. I'm not sure, but he wasn't the same burden as last year. Even the games where I did see him significantly playing early in the season, he wasn't the same burden. Not Burden, Brooks. He wasn't the same Brooks or Burden. I mean, Jermaine Burton is a veteran. This kid is going to automatically be out there for nothing less, but he understands the offense. I don't know what's going on with Brooks, though. I don't know I don't know what's up with Brooks. I don't know
Yeah,
if the
and
kid is.
look, I haven't gotten an official update either.
Yeah,
I'm
hadn't
kind of
heard anything.
it has been strange, and people have a right to ask. I mean, kind of what has been happening because
Hmm.
you're like, where is he? Next
Where
King
is he? Yeah.
with the super chat is like, what's going on there? All right, Coach. Before I let you go, man, I really appreciate your time rapping with us this morning, man. Always appreciate the dialogue that you have. Um, Sherman says the slant route Milroe threw was nice. It was great, went on both sides. Now I'm confident that this team can make it all the way. I've been telling people for a long time. As soon as I, kind of got a feel, because man, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I can feel it. I can see this team, and I mean, when you're so immersed in the program, you get that sense. Listening to the players, kind of their hunger level. This team it what happened from week 1 to week 3, that man, there was so much disconnection. I think
Yeah.
this team really had to find themselves, and once they did, then they kind of they put it into a perspective of it's kind of us against the world, and they all got on the same page. And you've seen this team from after that South Florida game completely change into a different team. As soon as they got into SEC play, this has been a completely different team. They've gotten better and better and better. And that kind of that Lank mentality. And what that means is let a naysayer know.
Hmm.
And they have used that as kind of their mantra all season long is let everybody else know out there, Lank, that we are still here. We are still standing and we can still make a run at this thing. And so when you look to this team, there's been a lot of people who have jumped off the bandwagon, who have jumped
Yeah.
on, jumped off, jumped on. Look, Coach Saban, he's has this team right where he wants them, and and I know you guys get tired of hearing this. We're not a finished product. They're not. They're going to be
It's a
finished at
fact.
the end of the season, and that's a good thing. You don't want them to be finished now against LSU. You
That's a
want them
fact.
to continue to stack and to stack inside Alabama's locker room. There's a pyramid. On the bottom, it has Middle Tennessee, has Texas, and then as you go up, it has the remaining games, right? And
Hmm.
then on top of it, it has goals: SEC championship or win the SEC West, make it to the SEC championship, win the SEC championship, playoffs, championship, right? So they're climbing that pyramid. And I mean, this team certainly, continues to improve. It's a transformational week to week process, right, Coach?
It's that's you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. It's a week to week process. Right now, we're doing exactly what we want this team to do: progress, get better. You're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna have some offbeat, off schedule things to happen. But all you can ask these kids is go back to work, improve it, do better against the competition. Let the naysayers know, and continue to do what you do. And I think we'll be just fine. Shout out to Tommy Rees as well.
Yo,
Use the players the way you're supposed to, Tommy. Let these guys play. Come off the bye week and let Jalen be Jalen. And I think we'd be just fine, man. I really do.
just have a quick update. I guess Ja'Cory Brooks did suffer some sort of upper body, slight injury or something like that last night. So that'll be something that we follow up with, and we'll keep you guys posted within our community tab, a YouTube short, or right here on one of our next shows. Coach, I appreciate it. I guess there's an article on AO.com if you want to go check it out on Ja'Cory Brooks. So I'm curious too. It's like one of the things that like I need to know, because you look at what he's done, and but I also think it's just because the wide receivers are also balling out. So whatever.
Facts.
All right, Coach. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. We will catch you Monday night with Coach Smook and Coach Jarek right here on our YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Any final comments before you bounce out?
Yeah, shout out to Coach Smook and Coach Jarek, my guys. Everybody, please tune in to us, tap in with us, and love the fan interaction. Love reading the comments and seeing all the regulars in here, man. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Kyle for making all of this possible for us. And spread the channel. Spread the channel. Give it to your buddies. Tag the link and tell them to tap in with us. I got a lot of LSU fans that tapped in with us last night. I appreciate you, Hattie Mae. God bless you, and roll tide to you. So let everybody know we're here. Bama football on YouTube. We're gonna be doing some other things too. and support Kyle, support the channel, man. Hit the like button, tap in, and roll tide to you all, brother. And I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Coach. I'll catch up with you soon, man. Cool.
No problem.